Wired in. SmallCapVoice.com. Following is a presentation of SmallCapVoice.com, today's leader in investor relations, capital formation, and retail support. Now, with your online business briefing, SmallCapVoice.com's Stuart T. Smith.
Welcome welcome all to another online business briefing brought to you by SmallCapVoice.com, where we shine a spotlight on some of the smartest and freshest plays here in the small and micro cap markets today. And to that end, we're speaking with Cyberloq Technologies Incorporated. They're currently traded on the OTC under the ticker symbol CLOQ. They've got a terrific new website I'd like you to take a look at and follow along with as we conduct this interview with the company president and chief operating officer, Chris Jackson. And that's cyberloq.com, and that's cyberloq, LOQ.com. So let's welcome Chris to the show. Chris, how are you today?
Wonderful, Stuart. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to communicate and talk to your audience today.
Well, very good. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to call in today and tell us about the business model and markets for the company. And we'll dive much deeper than that. But let's start there. What is it that you do there at Cyberloq Technologies Incorporated?
Well, essentially what we do is we're a proactive multi-factor authentication application that protects PII, personal identifying information, debit cards, credit cards, anything that a bank or a company, private data collection, anything of that nature, our cybersecurity protocol, Cyberloq, essentially protects all of that information. Companies have one brand. Their goals are to protect their brand, protect their clients or their members' personal information, and Cyberloq is an easy-to-use authentication process that allows them the opportunity to do just that. It's really not very complicated. It's an easy-to-use application. If anyone is really curious as to how it works, they can watch the video on the homepage of the website, and it really gives a real user-friendly application, and it's real easy to understand just how easy Cyberloq is to use, and then in order to implement for a company database or bank card or whatever they're trying to protect.
Well, you know what? You bring up a couple of good points there. One, easy to use. You mentioned that several times, and the video on the homepage. That's what I took away from it. But I also took away from it how easy it is to upset the end user and the consumer. And you guys really, like you said, have made it easy to use, made it a little bit dummy-proof, if you will, which we all could use these days. And I think that's a big key here that maybe the listeners don't understand is how cumbersome this can be and how simple your company made it.
Well, one of the things that my chief technology officer, Mark Carton, did in this whole entire process, through all of his years of development, Mark is an exceptionally talented individual to the point where he actually codes in, 10, 12, 15 different languages. So he understands the end user when he develops technology, and that's really what went into Cyberloq. I mean, everybody has a smartphone. Let me step back. Not everyone, but most people in today's society have a smartphone. And what Mark wanted to do was really make it a 5 to a 10-second application on your smartphone in order to protect your information or access to your information, whether it be through a web portal or a debit or a credit card, anything that is your information, financial, personal, or otherwise. You can simply use your smartphone in order to turn it on, to turn it off, and essentially protect your information. It's really a unique application with the geofencing situation in the mix of all that, which is really what separates Cyberloq from the competition.
Well, again, referring back to that video on your website, which I was, like you said, a very easy way for me to educate myself on the company, geofencing plays a big part in what you do. Let's talk about that.
Well, quite simply, even if you're the owner of a bank card, you have the ability to set your geofencing parameters based on your location. You can take that location with you. You can make it your home, your office, whatever. And even if you are, again, the owner of a debit card, let me just step back for just a second and share with the listeners. Every card that we have in our wallet traditionally is always in the on mode. And that's what essentially creates fraud, is because if you use your debit card at a restaurant and that restaurant is then compromised, okay, then they have your information. They've got your card number, they've got your CVV code, they've got your expiration date, and that's how fraud happens. Point of sale fraud is pretty minimal. It's generally online. So if you can follow that through with the Cyberloq component attached to their card, our system is always off. You activate your app on your phone, takes about 7 seconds, turn your card on, make the transaction, and then it automatically defaults back off again. So you have to be inside of your prescribed geofence, have your phone, and have the PIN number in order to use that information. So as you can see, that protocol is for debit cards, credit cards, websites, blockchain databases. Virtually anything has to follow that unique protocol in order for the end user to gain access, which in all practicality, Stuart, that's just really an impossibility. It just doesn't happen, and that's what makes Cyberloq unique within the digital payments, web protocol, cybersecurity apparatus.
Well, let's talk about how the company got to where it is today. Recently, as we've seen on the website, the company made the transition to move away in some areas and move into new areas. Let's talk a little bit about the name change, for one thing. Advanced Credit Technologies, now Cyberloq. But then where are you going from here? Because it really seems like there's some big things that happened late in 2019, and it feels like we're on the precipice of something big. So if you would, where were you and where are you going?
Great question. We've always been a technology company. In Advanced Credit Technologies, we had originally migrated into the credit space, trying to help people manage and repair their personal credit profiles. And what happened was, as laws changed and things of that nature, it became a little more cumbersome to maneuver a public company within that space. So several years ago, we met with Mr. Carton and saw the transition of essentially the cyber arena as a whole. With all of the data collection that's going on, it's very, very imperative that all of that data collection, all of that personal information, all that financial information is protected. And we really don't have to create an awareness in the cybersecurity market. It's virtually everywhere. I would imagine at least 50% of our listeners today probably have had a credit card compromised at some point and have actually experienced it in the real world. That's when we figured out that we needed to essentially focus our company mission and really dive into cybersecurity, and then that's where we are going right now. Hence the name from Advanced Credit Technologies to strictly Cyberloq Technologies. And we're really focused now more than ever on really securing anything that's personal identifying, financial related, anything of that nature is what the company's mission is moving forward into 2020.
Well, we know where you're headed. So now if you look into the horizon as the president of the company, Chris, what are some of your major goals for the company here in 2020?
Well, we've managed to get approved within the Visa MasterCard ecosystem with our domestic partner Q-Rails. We've launched the Pinnacle Debit Card web portal. We've constructed a blockchain for the diabetic health centers over in the west coast of Florida here. So those things are moving forward in 2020 as we grow and expand. We also hope to expand on our strong relations overseas. We're looking to be the authentication choice of the digital payments and the crypto markets in Europe and in Asia. And we'll be able to talk a little bit about that in greater detail later on in the month of February. But really, we want to expand globally with Cyberloq because of the privacy issues, because of fraud and the digital aspect of things. We firmly believe that Cyberloq will be the authentication of choice, starting in Europe, accenting the States, and then moving into the Asian market as well. It's just huge opportunities because everyone needs to protect their personal, private, and financial information.
That sums it up right there, listeners. Everyone needs to protect their personal and private information. And this is a company who's built a better mousetrap. Watch that video at cyberloq.com. Add that ticker symbol to your watch list now, CLOQ. This is just one interview, as Chris pointed out. We're going to be doing a series of interviews with Chris and others within the company.